Okay, welcome back to the next part of the video. In the last video, we brought the XR2 from aphelion, the point around the sun where we're at our farthest point, over here to Earth. And we did one main mid-course correction along the way at a cost of just 15 meters a second. And then we did a little bit of additional nudging there at the end when we got real close to the Earth, just to make sure that our minimum altitude was on track so that we could do a an atmospheric braking maneuver when we get over to Earth. And that's required, by the way. We're not doing it just strictly for the fun of it. We have to. We don't have the delta V to do a main engine burn even if we wanted to. If we bring out burn time calculator, put in the extra fuel mass, 657.8. We only have 871 meters per second of DV, so like I said, we couldn't even do main engine braking even if we wanted to. Now, we could potentially lighten our vessel a little bit. See what we're carrying here. We've got an empty tank of locks. No, it's mostly empty. And we've got enough locks to get over to Earth, so we could get rid of this if we wanted to. That would free up 476.88 meters a second, but let's not do that. Let's go ahead and carry it, because it will make this a little bit more challenging. You know, all the additional mass that you have when you're coming into the atmosphere, it makes it a little bit more difficult. So, let me just think about things here. We're at 0.82 gravitational influence from the Earth. And I did a quick save just before getting... I did a quick save at this point, so if I have any problems with the atmospheric braking maneuver, then I can pick back up at this point and try again. And coming back from the moon and doing the atmospheric braking, I'm really comfortable with that. I've done it quite a few times. But these higher velocity approaches are quite a bit trickier to pull off, so it's possible that I'll botch this one once or twice. So let's just cross our fingers and let's go forward and give it a shot. So we're warping time forward. Kind of watching the PEA there. It's not, just making sure it doesn't go up. And when our altitude's down to just a few hundred kilometers, we'll turn on the APU. And bring in the radiator. Okay, so we're down to 700 kilometers, 600, 500. We can go forward a little more. But let's switch over to surface view.
Translation, rotation.
And let's get rotated. Go forward a little farther. Don't want to bring in the radiator too soon. Okay, that's far enough. APU, radiator, air brake. Now, because we're using the expert configuration of the XR2, I'm going to try to not use the atmospheric controls. Actually, I'm going to start off using the atmospheric controls. But then as soon as I can, I want to turn off the APU, because it's going to take a while to do this atmospheric right. I got to pay attention. All right. Off. Okay, remember watching the vertical speed. this is not good.
Warning, hull temperature. Information. APU
Warning,
fuel
hull
90%.
Can't let the vertical speed go positive too long. We'll climb out too far. Oh, I hate that I can't see the HUD sometimes. Alright, there we go. And I think we got it. First try, that's nice. But what I was trying to say is that the APU in this configuration burns out really fast. And it's going to take so long to do this atmospheric braking that will burn through all the available APU. So what I need to do is to get myself into a stable situation and then turn off the APU and use RCS as long as I can. Okay, I need a little bit more on the center of gravity. Turn off the APU.
APU rotation.
Save the APU fuel because we're going to need some more, obviously. And then I'll just try to take care of the rest of this with rotation, or rather RCS. And the goal is to land back at KSC, but we probably don't need to worry too much about trying to line up with the base at this point. Before any of that matters, we have to get captured. It would be nice to start thinking about that here fairly soon. Let me bring up map, MFD, target Cape Canaveral. Change display over to orbit plane. Let me bring up the larger view here so I can see the MFDs better. Actually, let me not do that because I need to pay attention to the temperature. That's what we look like on the outside. Okay, I can take away some of the center of gravity shift now, because now I'm...
Warning, center of gravity shift offline.
But I'll have to turn the APU on to do that.
On.
Okay.
APU offline.
Center of gravity shift just gives the vessel a natural tendency to pitch up or down. So you're not using so much, you're not having to put in so much user input into the joystick. It's like trim. You know, like when you're flying in the atmosphere, you can kind of think of adjusting the center of gravity, at least for this purpose here. You can kind of think of it as setting elevator trim. Okay, so we've slowed down by, I wanted to say like 1,500 meters a second, but we're still going at a pretty good clip here. This is faster than we would be going if we were coming back from the moon. One second. Bring up base sync on this side. There's not much I can do with base sync yet because until we're captured we get this latitude view, which doesn't really, it's not very useful. I guess what I can do is to make things a little more entertaining. Bring up the surface view here. And just get this under control, and then I'll fly from the outside for a little while. As long as I can see the vertical speed. Then flying from the external view is okay. It's still not as easy. I don't know why. It's just flying, looking at the vessel outside is harder for me. I don't know how anybody plays Kerbal Space Program like this. Down to 11,700 meters a second. There's actually a nifty trick I can do. I'm not even going to try it here, but hang on, my vertical speed's getting way out. When you come back from the moon, you're traveling slow enough that you can actually do an inverted approach to the atmosphere with a very high angle of attack. And this is something I've actually tried myself in the past, and I never had any luck with it. But I saw a video by Video Space Effects where he did it, and I realized, oh, okay, well, it's possible. I just had to figure out how to do it correctly. So I'm now slow enough, 11,500 meters a second, that I could actually do that. But I don't want to risk screwing all this up. And I don't know that it would really work very well because I would need to get, I think I would need to get my vertical speed pretty far into the negative. Whoa, 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 whoa. Speaking of, alright, I gotta get back inside. This is messing me up. I think it's because I can see the horizon or something. When I'm on the outside, the only thing I can see is the number. But when I'm in here, seeing the horizon pitch up and down is a really good visual indicator for me. Now, obviously, doing the flight this way, I'm using RCS, but I'm not using APU, so there's a trade-off there. And in this case, you can't afford to have the APU run all this time, which I found out when I did the expert mode Earth to ISS to Moon to ISS video. When I came back from the Moon and did the atmospheric braking, I found that with the expert configuration, you'll end up burning through all your APU while doing the atmospheric braking because it just takes a while. And let's see our orbit MFD. We're at a 1.1 eccentricity, so we're not captured yet. Down to 11 kilometers per second. And we're able to slip deeper into the atmosphere at this point, so we should be able to slow down a little faster now. But I don't want to get too low, obviously. Yeah, I feel like I could back off the center of gravity a little bit more, because the vessel's naturally pitching into the atmosphere so much at this point that I'm having to put in quite a bit of correction out into space in order to keep myself from just diving way down into the atmosphere. And we're nearly captured. Turn the APU on and take out just a little bit of center of gravity. Go with that amount.
APU offline.
Got a really nice balance here. Just a little bit of pressure here and there. And we are captured in just a couple more seconds. Watch over here. There it is. Now we can switch from latitude to closest passage, which is what we want. Although none of this will have a whole lot of meaning until we get a more, until we bring our apoapsis down a lot. And I think what I'm going to do, just to make sure that this video doesn't go on for a really long time, is I'm just going to get into a circular orbit around the Earth rather than try to combine the atmospheric braking and landing into one maneuver or into one video, because that'll just take too long. So I'll just do the atmospheric braking in this part to get into a circular orbit, and then we'll land in the next part. And turn the APU back on. Get rid of a little more of the center of gravity.
On.
Let's see how that does.
APU offline.
And out of curiosity, I want to see my coolant temperature, because I haven't had the radiator open, all this time. And we can't open it yet. You can have it open when you're doing some of this, but I believe the back part of the vessel still has too much pressure on it. If we climbed out to maybe 72 kilometers or something and did our atmospheric braking up there, we might be able to have low enough pressure to open the radiator, but then it would take longer to circularize because we would have less drag. So we're down to 10,100 meters a second. It's got a little ways to go yet for the circularization to be complete. I'm going to get rid of some more center of gravity. The vessel's pulling itself pretty hard into the atmosphere. Just zeroing out the vertical speed first. Go with that.
On.
And it's just one more touch. Go with one more. Yeah, I think that'll be better. It's got a good balance now.
APU offline.
But obviously, as we slow down, we need less and less center of gravity, so it's a continual adjustment. It's not just a set it and forget it kind of thing. But yeah, now we've got a really good balance for the moment. With no pressure on the backstick, we've got, our altitude down here at 66 kilometers, and the vertical speed holding pretty close, to a manageable number. And with just one or two touches on the backstick for the rotation to pitch the vessel into the atmosphere a bit, that's all it's taking at the moment. And our apoapsis is down to 27,000. Vertical speed, or rather our velocity is down to 9,700. Pitch into the atmosphere a little bit more. You can see the hull temperature is, you know, kind of in the middle, so we're fairly cool. So I'd like to warm it up a little bit more, get some more drag, slow things down faster. Without overdoing it, of course. And let's see if we can select surface yet, or select our target. It won't hold, or I should say base sync won't remember it for very long. It never does. Yeah, it's a bit low. It's getting a little dangerous. Need to get rid of some more center of gravity. It's feeling what vessel's feeling really heavy again, requiring a lot of up-pitched out into space to keep myself from diving in. So turn the APU back on.
On.
And there's one touch. Let's go there for now. Yeah, a little bit more.
APU offline.
Go with that for now. And we can probably go back to green. Yeah. I do actually prefer the green, it's just you can't see it very well depending on what the external view is doing. You know, sometimes you get that bright blue atmosphere right below you, and you just, that green just doesn't look like anything. It just blends in too much with the blue. Okay, we're almost circular. Let me close this out. I don't really need to have it open. We have our apoapsis all the way down to 13,000. It's always a little tricky to know exactly when to kind of start pitching up out of the atmosphere. If you do too soon, then you end up with an apoapsis that's, you know, 3,000 or 4,000 kilometers, not really what you want. But obviously if you take too long with it, then you are, your apoapsis ends up becoming your periapsis, let's put it that way. You end up dragging so much that you don't have an orbit anymore. And that can be okay. You just have to pitch out and then go out into space a little bit and raise your periapsis, but that uses fuel, obviously. And if you're trying to be very fuel conscious, then you know, prefer not to do that. And the vessel's getting heavy, so APU on.
On.
And a little bit of correction on the center of gravity. A little bit more. A little bit more. Kind of watching the vertical speed. I want it to feel like it's balanced, and it feels balanced right now. And go just a little bit more like that. That'll actually have it settling the other direction, but as we slow down,
80% offline.
it'll go the other way, so that's got a really good balance right there. Okay, apoapsis 9,000, so we're not too far away from the time where we'll need to pitch out into space and circularize. Apoapsis 8000. And I can hear the guy who cuts my grass. He's out here. So hopefully that's not picking up too much in the mic. As he gets around to the back of the house, it might get quite loud. So hopefully we'll be circularized before then. I haven't been able to cut my grass for a number of years. With all my breathing problems, I get horribly... It's just not good. Not to mention the fact that in the last several years my lung capacity's dropped so low that just physically managing the lawnmower is no longer possible. I was able to cut my grass for a few years there, physically, but the breathing part, I couldn't handle it. But now I can't do it physically. Just because of the lung capacity, it's just dropped so low, it's just ridiculous. But anyway, Apoapsis down to 5,900. See where I am at around the Earth at this point. So yeah, what we'll do is we'll come back up, circularize, then we'll go, you know, around the halfway point and do a usual, you know, bring down the periapsis and just do a usual landing, as opposed to trying to fit that all in here. Mainly just for the sake of time. Because obviously, you know, doing these atmospheric brakings takes a while. And then landing on top of that take you know, another bit of time. So if you put those two together into one video, it makes for a very long video. Apoapsis at 4,500. And you'll notice, like at the end, you know, your speed kind of trickles off. Seems like it trickles off more quickly than it does early, so things basically start happening quickly at this point. So I'm going to switch over to surface controls.
On. Off.
Got enough APU for that. Actually, nah, I take that back.
Pitch. Off.
Let's continue to
Rotation.
handle this with the rotation. But I just want to take out some of the center of gravity. Actually, I'll tell you what, I'm just going to zero it out at this point where... Yeah, that'll be fine. Okay, Apoapsis is down to 3,500. So I'm going to kind of start climbing out a little bit, get up, you know, more towards 70 kilometers. And at that point, we'll actually be able to open the radiator as well. See what our coolant temperature is doing. It's at about 60. Apple-Apps is at 3,000. Apple-Apps is at 2,700. Yeah, they're around the back of my house now. It's probably getting really loud in the mic. I do want to balance this out as well as I can so that I don't climb out too quickly. I believe I could open the radiator now, but don't want to run the risk of opening it too soon. Okay, Apple-Apps is at 2,000. We're getting there. And I'm continuing to stay inverted at this point because the shape of the vessel will cause the XR2 to climb out more quickly if I turn over, so I want to stay inverted for now. Apple-Apps is down to 1,600. And I think I can probably get away with a bit of time warp. So we've got everything under control now. Just to speed this up a little bit. Pitch down just a little bit here.
Mach 26.
Okay. And I don't know exactly where the right time is to pull out, so I'm going to go ahead and turn over now. And you'll notice that our vertical speed will immediately go into the positive because we've got the vessel, the shape of the vessel wants to fly up, or, the lift to drag ratio, I guess is what it is. Okay, apoapsis down to 680. Just going to basically do a complete roll just to eliminate some of the vertical speed, but not too much. Apoapsis down to 550. And what we're really looking for, close to 200. But we can't get it all the way down to 200 before we climb out, because then it'll continue to go down. So there's a balance there somewhere, maybe, I don't know if the number is 400 or 350, but somewhere around there we need to, we need to be pulling out of the atmosphere, because it will continue to go down for a little while. But we're really close to where we need to be now. Okay, we're down to 400 kilometers, warp time forward. 350. Alright, let's go with that. Let's roll over. And I think that will be what we need. Okay, apoapsis down to 280, so we really, getting to that point where we don't want to let it get too much lower than what it is now. And I think that'll be fine, so. Yeah, it's a little too low, that's unfortunate. Oh well. So we'll switch over to orbit HUD. And really now we can go prograde. I should have closed the air brake, I forgot about it.
Mach 26.
And we can extend the radiator now. That'll start bringing the coolant temperature down. And now I want to warp time forward to apoapsis, and we'll do a circularization, which may not be necessary, but...
Mach 26.
Okay, we're basically at apoapsis. Go ahead and use the autopilot. And there's progrades.
Translation. Rotation.
Go ahead and bring up the other side of the orbit.
Translation. Rotation. Translation.
And I'm doing a little bit of lateral translation just to bring the apoapsis back around to where I'm at. And that way I can finish circularizing. And there we are, we're back down to apoapsis. So it's a little bit of translation to get the orbit nice and circular like that. And there we have it. Now we're a little lower than I'd like to be. I'd like to be above 150, but we're landing right away, so it's not that big of a deal. So we're here. Let's bring up the larger MFDs. We're here, and we're going to land at Cape Canaveral. So we're going to have to come around somewhere over to this point and lower this side of our orbit, and then I'm trying to decide if I want to, do any base alignment before I get. We can go basically to the the nodes and align the base. It uses fuel to do that, but it makes for a much shorter landing. So I'll figure it out between this video and the next one what I want to do. If I come around to this point and bring down this side of my orbit, you can see that the orbit plane has me missing Cape Canaveral by several thousand kilometers to the south. So I would have to do a lot of gliding to get over to the base, and we've definitely got the cross range to do it. That's not the issue. The issue is that doing those glides through the atmosphere just adds a lot of time to the flight, and I'm not a big fan of gliding through the atmosphere for an extra amount of time. I would rather, since we do have the extra fuel, maybe just do a little bit of base alignment, and that will let me get closer to the base before I have to worry about doing the deorbit burn. That'll make for a much faster landing. Anyway, if you have any questions about this part of the video, go ahead and leave those questions down below, comments, all of that, and I will see you in the next part.